Manjin as Sip for Vimp as we head into the draft. Game number 1 of this best-of-5 knockout series. Gentlemen, what can we expect as the bans and the first few picks of the game?
Surprisingly enough, I think some of the bans and picks are going to look very similar for both sides.
Exactly. Most of the time, we are definitely expecting to see the other teams will want to target ban onto Oh My Venus, always hitting onto the S-Dash, hitting on the Diggy. But this time, what we're looking out for is the very generic bans from Blacklist International, where they always take out the Kaja and the Franco.
Those are the two main heroes that can actually say something with this Ube. But honestly, for Blacklist International, we've seen this, I think, 3 games in a row up against Tonak, Fredrin being heavily prioritized. And with, Wise playing the Psycho Fredrin, as now we're calling him, I think it might just be a very good pick. It's pretty flex as well for them.
Yeah. Manji, what do you wanna see from Blacklist International overall?
I think they can reserve the DD. Speaking
Oh,
of the devil,
Well done.
Wow.
Well done.
it's the devil's head, bro.
Talk about negative synergy here.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. FIMP. How do you deal with this? What do you think have they prepared?
Personally, I think maybe FIMP might have taken a couple of pointers here. Wow, 103% pick and ban rate. That's a number I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
But I was considering maybe as their final pick of the first phase, potentially looking at the Claude. It's one of the few heroes that has actually taken a game off of Blacklist International.
That's right. But there's a big straight up chance that Blacklist might pick it up since they're facing Eve and Glue.
Yeah.
That could be a potential. But yeah, what else do you think the Blacklist International will answer this time?
There is a very high chance that they will want to answer high ground to high ground, getting a Fasa into their mix. In the meantime, getting a couple, probably just prioritizing a pick for Owl. Someone that can really hold on to the fight a little bit longer.
I mean, we're already getting the Fredrin as well as the Valentina. If we're talking about getting a high ground alt like Eve, might as well just copy it, but still scale even harder.
Okay, there's the Fredrin. This is pretty much a standard Blacklist draft, especially with US special Valentina. Wise has yet to lose a single Turtle Lord Retribution battle yet.
Really?
Wow.
Wait.
On the Fredrin.
That's a stat that we weren't aware of.
No, I don't think it's on the Fredrin. Yeah. I think it's generally, as jungler, no one beat Wise on the Retribution battles.
That's even crazier then. I mean, people are calling him King of the Jungle as we know him as Psycho Fredrin with how much he just runs down. Literally, some Dio energy, walk up to me and I'll take you out. But we're seeing that also the FIMP are trying to make sure that they can just look for that one shot. We're not talking about CC, we're talking about just raw damage. And I think that the Amon in these positions can be a little awkward, especially in knowing how assassin matchups in the jungle deal against tank matchups.
Personally love the AA Mon here for sure because it has a lot of burst. The AA Mon, and now the Joy has been banned out. Typically people will look into the V-Wise duo, the tandem, but sometimes they look at the Edward. Abstract, how do you feel about the draft so far?
Honestly, one thing that I really like about seeing teams going up against Blacklist International is that they know that Oh My Venus can't play super aggressive all the way in the early stages of the game, right? When you pick up an assassin jungler, you would expect the opponents to go for Hilda, for example, right? Super aggressive right off the bat. And then FIMP knows that this is not going to be an option. Picking up an Amon right here, it may very well be one of the best answers to deal with this Diggy.
Isn't it far too early to pick up the AA Mon, however?
Yeah, I personally think that is showing it really early on might be a mistake.
I think it's not a mistake, especially for FIMP, because they have shown it in the group stages. Now, if this was hidden from everybody in the group stages, sure. The thing is, they have picked it up, and they know, Blacklist knows that Amon is one of the comfort picks from Cura, because we also saw this back in M4.
That's right.
So, I am looking at FIMP. I really, really like the drafts in the second phase coming out from them, right? They are really just trying to nail Edward down. And I think this has been one of the key ways, main win conditions from Echo as to how they beat them in MPLPH Grand Finals.
I think that you pointed it out because that's what we saw with the bans. And I think imagine, you know this, targeting Edward might have been the way to go for teams to defeat Blacklist.
They need to shut down Agent Zero, I think, so that Blacklist cannot pop it up or
Pop it up.
that's what you call him, right?
Yeah.
because he brings the aggression in the
Yeah.
team.
I think targeting onto Edward is definitely one of the best ways, but also one of the most difficult ways, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Edward has such a wide hero pool. Right
Yeah.
off the bat, I'm looking at Joy and Benedetta. It all makes sense. In the meantime, I'm also looking at Lapu Lapu. I'm also looking at Yu Zhong, both of which are such perfect play
Yeah.
for Blacklist International to really come up to deal with this Eve.
I mean, they're trying to make sure that they don't exactly have the easiest backline access, right? At least trying to make a decent matchup. Like, they're banning out Benedetta. If they were really worried about reliable backline access, they get rid of the Yuzong. They just want to slow them down. If it's about Blacklist International, it's about coordinated team play. 5v5s, in a matter of fact. Now, we're seeing that the Lapu Lapu is getting chosen here. I'm curious to see what marksman Owl wants to play. Carry looks good, but there's still an assassin. Brody, wow, really wants to win that lane.
Pretty much comfort, huh?
Yeah. Thing is, this is a skill matchup though. Brody versus Beatrix isn't, black and white here, especially for the Beatrix right now. The fact that the Brody has kind of been nerfed, not because the Brody's been nerfed, but because some of the items, the defensive items has been buffed, especially with the steel leg plates becoming just the norm now in the gold lane. Brody certainly loses a lot of kill pressure.
I think FIMP, they need someone to set up for the Beatrix.
But is this a setup that you need?
Okay,
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Okay.
This
Let's
is kind
leave it
of
at that.
like toe ducting going on
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah. I saw Gideon. Gideon's reaction was like, Diggy
Hilda.
and Hilda. So many teams have tried Hilda against Diggy of Blacklist International. Not everything worked. We see the audience prediction.
Bleeding red.
It's bleeding red. Blacklist International favored in this. And
Turkey.
Oh,
FIMP, 88%, as expected. The draft has been laid out. Let's ask Manjin one last time when it comes to the draft. Many teams have tried. Hilda versus Diggy against Blacklist International. It didn't work. Do you think that this will be a game that FIMP can win?
This is so risky. I think the Amon third pick is a risky pick.
Okay.
But they want to secure it. But I don't trust the Hilda. It
Okay.
failed back in the group stages.
Yeah.
So I think we all know the script already. Blacklist will win, but I'm simping for Pimpro.
Okay, very well. Abstract, take it away.
ladies and gentlemen, as we make our way in to the land of dawn, who's the one that will come up early? Is it gonna be the Ube team, or would it be the aggressive Turkey?
Well, let's see how this early game actually goes out. I mean, if Yue ends up dying here, that's probably going to be a very clear victory towards Blacklist International. But knowing how, to FIMP. But generally speaking, the way that we should be looking at this is especially when it comes down to these neutral objectives, right? Hilda is not really going to participate in the majority of these team fights, but is then looking for information, trying to make sure that Blacklist International, especially for their mid laner Yue, to continuously be pulled to a different direction.
I mean, when we are looking at Edward, he is the master of his lane. The least amount of death amongst all the players. And I gotta have to say, Edward, he knows exactly what he's looking out for. In this current lane matchup, he doesn't really want to go to all-out aggressive against the Glue, but really just all about the lane priority and wanting to get back with his entire team.
Yeah, actually. Speaking of which, I mean, I'm getting a lot of flashbacks from that Todak against Echo matchup and Blacklist matchup. And honestly, when I see this Hilda into the Diggy, and especially with Oh My Venus playing on that impure range, you know that the Queen just wants the stack.
Okay, well, right now there's a taunt already. Wise gonna be able to dish some damage out right there, but Endless Shards actually connects onto Edward, who just soaks it in. No damage, just practically tickles him. As both teams just disengage, not wanting to go for a skirmish, but just as I say it, Alien's gonna be engaged on Alien, jumping back with the slam, pass, but Alien's gonna be stunned up in the Raven's Fighter, the Abrasion's craft as well. First blood for Edward, Kura terrified up, trying to run away as Apex 47 tries his best to distract, to get him out of there right now, but it's gonna be chain CC by the Fredrin. The sprint is not ready, and it's gonna be Blacklist International with a clean 2-0 start.
Now this is when we talk about lane matchup, especially micro. The fact is that Edward was already level 4, and unfortunately Blue was not in that same position. If you had the split, maybe something else, the occurrence could have been a little different, but the fact that they got 2 of those kills so early on, and a free neutral objective, that's gonna be an early goal for Blacklist International to start pressing the advantage against some of the stronger lanes.
Kira didn't even have his ultimate for that fight, unfortunately due to the fact that the Lapu pretty much quote-unquote baited it out and managing to dash out of the way right before the final shot hits it. So honestly, Kira not exactly very good for that fight.
You can already see as well here, Wise trying to go for it. That's a red trick by Kura. This Kura, the overall manipulation and endless charge locks Wise down. The mobility field is right there, but the time journey locks him, gives him some space to escape. Wise is gonna fall. Kazoo picks up the kill as Alien rotates all around, but it's gonna be killed here by the bravest fighter. A Terrify as well, but Alien almost gets out just barely, but Yue. Brilliant micro mechanics.
Great job from Yue. I think he needed to make sure that that kill went back. If not, that lane would have been very, very skewed. And also, it allows him to kind of recover a little bit of that early game damage. Regardless, at the end of the day, when we're looking at the items, and more importantly, when we're starting looking at the emblems at this stage of the game, we hope that Kura is able to scale super fast. Because eventually, Wise is going to be able to get Radiant Armors, able to get Twilight Armors even. Oh, a quick steal!
FIMP is still sticking over to their MO. With this lineup, they can afford to be playing very aggressively. Despite losing in the, or rather despite only having a 2-kill deficit, they still want to occupy the opponent's base as much as possible. They still want to inhibit the control of Wise as the main frontliner.
Especially the fact that they were able to burn a battle spell, a very important one at that as well. Venus, the way he was able to utilize this Diggy up against Todak was getting in the right places at the right time with the flicker. Now, Turtle's gonna be spawning and that flicker is going to be on cooldown.
So the clutch is disabled on this card, but at the end of the day, Oh My Venus just has to position a little bit more dangerously, right? Alien's totally fine. He's come to a point in the game where it's not Whoa!
Wow, Kura even doesn't deal enough damage to take Venus down. Time Journey pop, the shielding is enough to get him out of there. As Kura tries his best to start this turtle. Retribution not available for Wise, but it is for Kura. But it seems like FLUX Impunity do not have that right now. Apex 47 is hunting Venus down. But it's going to be locked down, forced to use the sprint. It might just be a free kill over, and it will. The time bomb, the alarm bomb in the bush. This finds the kill back, and it's Blacklist once again with that lead.
I mean, I respect that. You know, Apex 47 wanted to go super aggressive, and we talked about the fact that Apex 47 is not afraid. In fact, the whole entire FIMP seems like they're not afraid.
And the charge, you may need to be afraid as Edward jumps in under the turret. Kura is able to utilize the invisibility. Here, Wise will pick up that retribution onto the turtle. Neutral objective so far going all the way to Blacklist International.
Kura's got to be real careful there. He should not have lived that at all. The fact that he went back in to greed out one auto attack nearly costed him his life. I think that's going to stick with him for now. In terms of item power spike, we are seeing the dominant ice as well as the Ice Queen Swan coming out of Kazue. So it's going to help him really start chasing. But again, we're looking for that opening from FIMP.
I think that's a very fine line between, you know, respecting the opponents and being aggressive, right? Because FIMP, I don't know where they are threading right now. They would want to squeeze a little bit of hits in, they would want to really overextend themselves, but somehow they're not exactly punished.
Oh, Kura is being punished though. While you say that, Edward and Wise were able to just invade in the jungle. Now Apex 47, he might be a Hilda, but with those stacks in, Owl might just be able to slay him without the torn apart memory. That's a lot of damage from the Brody in the 5th minute of the game. Completely snowballing, 7-1.
Yeah, they knew this rotation was going to happen. They already initiated one of their own to make sure that they are on the top side of the map, but you don't want to see this because it feels like right now, FIMP, whatever they do, they seem to almost be making the blunder, right? But Blacklist are the ones who are increasing the tempo. They are the ones, and especially with Psycho Fredrin, really pushing the pace.
The tempo is really working very well from the side of Blacklist International, right? Most, if not all of their players from their side is levels above of FIMP. There is definitely quite a disparity going on. Despite Edward just holding down to his lane, Alien and Kira still want to go in for a block proxy in order to go for a little bit of off-tempo.
And the charge as well, Edward just takes it. It does no damage to Edward in the early game all the way now. You can see the defensive items for Edward is really, really paying off.
Yep, it's coming into effect, and that's why you need to make sure. Radiant Armor is honestly a really good buy. Some people even decide to go, depending on what the composition is, but we'll see the items in just a little bit as they've already lost a topside turret. This turtle basically a non-contestion.
Pretty sure that the robe is currently available for the side of Edward. He's been tanking all of that and doesn't seem like it's much of a problem. Blacklist International, they understand that the turtle is already working towards their favor. They have the priority at that. Then, of course, jumping onto the jungle is what they want to go for.
Bravest fighter from Edward! All the way to the back, Ethan! Kazue! It's gonna be taken down, now to top side. That's gonna be Snipe coming down, but Owl's still able to escape the torn apart memory. One more shot! Owl escapes! Blacklist are stomping on FIMP.
not giving them any opportunity.
Wow.
Apex is gonna get canceled, and this is just brutal. Sunshine needs to run, but even then, he's stuck.
Oh, Venus there. That's going to be Flicker. Venus Flicker is out as well. Sunshine! How did he do that? He finds a double kill. Finally, he's going to be punished by Blacklist International with Owl flickering forward. No, he just dashed in front with that torn apart memory. But man, that's a mistake that we rarely see.
It's fine. They can recover from this. Blacklist is still at a 3-point AK lead.
It's an island-wide coverage. We're looking at advances in the top lane. We're looking at advances in the objective. Blacklist International is still sticking true to what they want, and that is objective games over and over again. Yes, Sunshine may have outplayed them. Yes, he's just going to do what he can. Even expanded the flicker to get the kill on the Venus. Yue just couldn't do much from that point.
Really unfortunate, honestly. Like, towards the end there, you can see that it's clear that everybody's cooldowns were were basically done for, and they just have to wait it out. Unfortunately, that's when you see Sunshine flickering forward to create that space and forcing at least for Yue to use his own to trade.
Super the Siege gets too much for them though. Blacklist International are completely utilizing this Brody, and Alien is going to be stunned up, and this should be him taken down without the torn apart memory. Utilizing the Brody so well in this game.
It's pretty much all of the first tier defense towers that has been taken down. Blacklist International will get full control of the river line, and the Lord will be popping out in 50 seconds. FIMP will want to reclaim this.
That's a taunt. Kazooie going to be locked down. Doesn't have. Oh, he goes for the flicker anyways, but Edward chases him down with the bravest fighter. 5.5k gold lead when Edward does this much. What are you supposed to do?
I mean, honestly, this is just a massacre, right? Every single time Cura's buffs start coming up, about to spawn Blacklist, have already pushed out the waves. They are literally 10 seconds ahead of FIMP with a lot of the motions that they're making, sometimes earlier than they're supposed to be.
Oh, Renner's apathy, why is just being that psycho Fredrin in the front. Taunting Alien up, that's going to be Edward with the bravest fighter. He's going to be disintegrated. An Owl in the back is going to be slain by the assassin Cura, but the endless shot was stolen away by Yue. Now it's giving the real world manipulation. Sunshine gonna be able to dish out some damage, but Wise takes him out. Yue is looking for a maniac! Yue! He got it! A maniac! A savage is waiting in the base, but Kazooie, he's gonna be denying it away from Yue.
Yep, can't do any more than that. Maniacs is all we're getting here at MSC. So close to Savages, but no way to secure that pie. Now, as we look at this game, I think FIMP, unfortunately, yes, that was the correct motion. Cura is looking for that backline, looking to one-shot Owl as quickly as possible. But even then, the trades are so efficient, and with how the early game was actually played by Blacklist International, they maintained their lead. Even if they were at a 2k lead, it would only give them, what, 1,500 gold? Let's look at the replay one more time, because as we see Cura finding the angle on the left side of the map and even getting the flicker out of Owl, he one-shots him, but he's so out of position that there's nothing much they can really do. And as FIMP looking to trade back, they are behind. They are so far behind, in fact.
It's really unfortunate that Beatrix thought that he would be safe within the RWM, and I totally understand, right? You brought down the win condition on the side of Blacklist International. There's not going to be a lot of threat. But one thing that FIMP forgot is the fact that there is a 7k deficit.
And the fact that Yue can just steal the endless shards. You want to burst me? Nah, if I'm ahead, I'm bursting your team.
One shot me, one shot you. Doesn't matter who's gonna go down first. This inhibitor's mine.
An eye for an eye for 2 for a 2. FIMP is ready to defend this as much as they can, as Alien is just gonna be getting shot.
Oh, they can't even defend. Edward! He gets a 2-man stun, and Yue follows it up instantly in the back, finding a double kill as RWM comes down to lock Apex 47. Owl, one more shot, but Apex is able to escape. That real world manipulation from Kazooie. That's the only thing that can stop them in a way. He's coming down as he's able to actually immobilize it. But look at the damage coming from Owl, melting down. Apex 47 like it's nothing. Now to Endless Charge, doing nothing to Wise. He walks back up. Cura's looking for a kill right now. He jumps in, but it's a bait! It's a bait, and it's a time journey to lock him up. 11 minutes is all Blacklist needs. First against Todak, now against FLUX Impunity.
Great cleanup overall, efficient trades, and the best part, their communication still in tip-top shape. Their baits towards the end, was that absolutely necessary? Not at all, but they did it anyways.
I gotta have to say, US IMU, that uptime, it constantly coming out, Eternal Shards or RWM, these ultimates are always so crucial to these team fights, and he's not holding on to them. He finds the opportunity, and he's very much ready to unleash them.
The best part is that he wants to maximize the slow of the IMU just because, hey, you're going to try and run away, you're trying to camouflage, no problem. Slow you down just enough and then one-shot you immediately after.
I know that guy, someone in the crowd. I don't know where I met him before.
Cute, in matter of fact. All right. Overall, Blacklist had a strong game. And I think, especially for FIMP, if they want to start recovering from this, they need to start fixing their early game. Because again, with a crowd of this magnitude supporting Blacklist International, it's very easy for the mental to start showing cracks in your gameplay, similar to RSG versus Burnex Flash.
I gotta have to say, right, when it comes down to FIMP versus Blacklist International just kind of have like this leash onto FIMP. Wherever FIMP tries to be aggressive, they just can't seem to work that out. They go aggressive, but in the end of the day, it's not necessarily that. They already crossed that line. The aggressive became, well, overextending.
Well, I don't know. If we're talking about overextension, I'm looking back at Wolf here. What can you talk about this game? Like, how it couldn't have gone any better for FIMP, could it?
Oh, it's a lot of people really have tried this Hilda going up against the Blacklist International, specifically the Digi. And for our simple brains as the casters, simple brains about the game, we can definitely think that it will not work. And in practice, it doesn't. You can see that it worked against other teams, but not particularly Blacklist International. There's another layer to it, though. The AA Mon that you saw. Some flashes of good stuff, but man, just having Radiant Armor and Bloodlust Axe on this Lapu Lapu is already enough. But who's the... Oh, well.
Wow, perfect
timing. Perfect. 5-0-9. Radiant Armor picked up. No damage from the AA Mon. Gideon, what can you say about the Lapu Lapu? Edward Lapu Lapu.
I mean, the Edward Lapu Lapu, he played it as good as anybody can play it, right? Make sure that he gets the Fury Hammer relatively early on, and then immediately starts speccing in towards that Radiant Armor, knowing that he's going to be quite vulnerable when he tries to go in with the Bravest Fighter. So he has to make sure that he stays healthy, make sure that he's not feeding over into the Amon's big express train, because if he starts getting one kill, the second and third just come that much easier, and eventually the snowball is just too much and you don't have that tempo. I mean, look at the heat map so far, right? As soon as Edward is unlocked from his lane, I don't have to stick with glue anymore, and I can start playing those smaller skirmishes, the 3v3s, the 2v2s, and then even in bigger team fights, that's when you see him jump forward. Like, look at how aggressive he is 5 minutes into the game. He's already walking into enemy territory.
It feels as though Blacklist International knew what they wanted to do, right? Against aggressive lineup, do we just go full out defensive? Edward just needs to unlock himself and make his way all across the map.
I mean, he's got to corral his opponents, right? And I think that's something that Blacklist took away facing against Todak, right? They need to make sure that the side lanes are clear, but more importantly, put so much pressure that they're forced back in towards their jungle and eventually shoved into the mid lane. Now, there were good moments from FIMP, right? Yeah, exactly. Like, these are the outplays that we expect to see from teams who place against Blacklist. And I would say, if I had to give Blacklist a title, they would be the gatekeepers, right? The gatekeepers, because if your macro is not on point, if your micro is good, that's like, okay, you need a combination of both to really take on Blacklist.
You can really feel that in this particular game, because there were so many times where you kind of see it coming that FIMP will get a stop at least of Blacklist International. Maybe they'll get a kill, but for some reason, the preemptive flickers coming up from Oh My Venus and towards Bravest Fighter just hitting onto two members, and of course Owl just using the stun of the dash of the stun just to get into position and land a good play, and then outplay AM1 at the end. Blacklist International just knew how to play Mobile Legends.
Well, they really did, right? It's almost like they mastered the basics. I've made that joke twice.
Okay. Okay.
Not so original after all then.
That's original.
I mean, looking at the post-game stats, I think it's very clear. 21-5, 11 minutes so far. In their past couple of games, they've just been ending it within 11 minutes, especially when they have such a snowball on their side. And it's great to see that Wise... I mean, I would love to see Wise go back to his assassin junglers. he's already quite a monstrosity with Psycho Fredrin. Imagine if he had Ling or even Lancelot.
It's it's definitely gonna be sounding crazy to see that happening. But like I said, I mean, or rather, like you said, I would love to see that. Do they have any other, pocket picks, or rather, is there anything, other strategies that FIMP will want to look out for? Because in this game, all aggression is no aggression to this game, because we're looking at Hild A, 0, 5, and 2. It doesn't seem like there's too much damage going on. He went for Tenacity, one thing that we gotta note for, not necessarily going for the Assassin Emblem, which I would have probably thought they would go for.
Yeah, again, I honestly feel like FLUX Impunity, they have been forced to experiment. They've been forced to, go out and show their pocket picks before in the group stages even up against Echo. They really wanted that victory to get to the first seed. Now, for Blacklist, it really does feel like, yeah, sure, we're in a single elimination bracket. This is where all the teams should go all out, but because they're so ahead of the pack, they haven't been revealing anything. They've just been playing the way they do normally, and maybe that's just a strategy, staying solid, but when the Fredrin is open, they will pick it up. They're not going to stray away from that at all. They're not going to go for anything too risky, because why take the risk?
Exactly. And this is, when me and Manjit were walking out when you were taking over the cast, we were talking about, man, this is a Blacklist draft. Owl will just take the Brody, Weiss will take the Fredrin, and you have the trio, the Farsa, Eve, and